You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, it's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the big show. For over 16 years and 2,300 episodes of being the Chris Voss Show, the CEOs, the billionaires, White House presidential advisors, the Pulitzer Prize winners, all the people who share their journeys, their stories, their life cathartic moments, and they share them with you to make your life better. And if it doesn't work, then damn it, just go back and listen to the show over again, because you clearly missed something. Anyway, that's why you listen to the Chris Voss Show, make your life better. We had an amazing young lady on the show today. We're going to be talking about her health consulting that she does and how she helps you live a better life and be more successful as well. And if you don't, well, just keep listening to the show until you get it. So there you go. I go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok, and Chris Voss, Facebook.com. You can see all the groups and crazy stuff we do over there. Today, Briana Mccallum joins us on the show. She is a holistic health consultant and divine empowerment and success coach, specializing in working with business owners and practitioners. She's the founder of LMH Custom Teas and Herbs LLC, and she integrates herbal remedies with personalized coaching to help clients achieve balance, vitality, and success. Through divine empowerment coaching, she accelerates self-evolution. I need some of that. I need to evolve. Self-actualization, goal setting, and the fastest achievement of goals and growth. She empowers individuals to align their mind, their body, and their spirit, facilitating rapid personal and professional transformation. Welcome to the show. How are you, Briana?
Thank you, Chris. I'm doing pretty good today. How about yourself?
Thank you for coming to the show. Give us your .orgs or .coms, wherever you want people to find you on the interwebs, please.
So you can find me at LMHT, like the drink, TEA.org. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview of what you do in your words there.
All right. So I am a divine empowerment and success coach. And what that means is everything that I do in my business is divinely led. I don't path shame. Whatever someone's spiritual journey is, that's their journey for a reason. But in my work, I do mediumship and spiritual support in my coaching. I also incorporate psychology and neuroscience into everything that I do. I do trauma-informed coaching, and I also do success and empowerment coaching. And I specifically specialize in neurodivergence. So people that are on the spectrum that deal with anxiety, depression, may have ADD, ADHD, anxiety, dyslexia, whatever their brand of neurospicy is. I do specialize in helping turn those symptoms into superpowers. You like that, didn't you?
I like that neurospicy.
Yeah.
I think I'm having some of that in my coffee right now. Or maybe I should say my tea. And then you incorporate a lot of this holistic stuff with tea and healthy herbs. I'm a big fan of tea. I love tea. I love coffee too. So there's that. And then you have blends that you put together, tea blends that are customized that you sell on your website as well, right?
I do, yeah, and that's only a small sampling of what I've created over the years that are some of the better sellers, but I've blended over 350 teas customized to different clients' needs and journeys, so there are quite a few.
That was the question I was going to ask for you, if you did it, custom per client, like, hey, you're really insane, you need this tea. That's probably what I just do for me,
Hey, we got tea for that.
Do you have a lobotomy? Chris Voss needs lobotomy tea. So there you go. So how long have you been doing this?
Professionally, I've been doing it for about 6 years now, but I've been doing the holistic health consultation and coaching just unpaid, privately, as a part of my work, as a part of just my way of being for 20 years now.
There you go. And is it pronounced Reiki? Is that... I have that right, Don. Reiki. There you go. Reiki. I still need to evolve. You do Reiki master energy healing and sound therapy. Is that where they have the sound bath things? Is that forgive me if I have the wrong genre?
No, you're good. So there are two different things there. There's Reiki healing, which is an Eastern form of energy healing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
there's different delineations of how it's taught. And my Reiki master, when she trained me, we work through God and archangels and a lot of our work, and we work with the chakra centers. So
Oh, huh.
yeah, it's more Eastern medicine related, and then the sound therapy is separate from that, but they are very complementary. So that's where you would have chimes, singing bowls, tuning forks and pitches and different vibrations.
Oh, wow. That's very different than what my dad used to force me to do. He'd be, go out and do some Reiki. The leaves are on the lawn. Anyway, this is a bad joke. Yeah, they pay me for the cheap jokes. Your certification comes as a Jay Shetty, Certified Life and Success Coach, Reiki Master Energy Healer. I'm going to learn how to pronounce Reiki by the end of the show.
You got it. Right there.
So tell us about your life journey. How did you grow up? What were some of your influences? What were some of the maybe stories that shaped you, that got you into holistic healing and kind of discovering yourself and how you could use these methodologies to heal yourself, but also to help other people?
Yeah, that's a lot. So I'll have to find the snapshots.
I did kind of throw everything at you there.
I was like, I'm
Sorry.
38, so how do I snapshot this? But first of all, I did want to correct a little bit. The Jay Shetty Life Coaching and Success Coach, that is a certification. And then Stephanie Younga through My Healthy Reiki Life, that's the one who gave me my Reiki Master certification. So just so
Okay.
Yeah, a little separation there.
All right.
What got me into it? The quick snapshots are, I'm neurodivergent myself. I have a lot of acronyms by my name, but none of them are PhD. Probably could be at this point with how much I've studied. And so I've been through my own journey of being neurodivergent, and that's long before there were reels on ways that you could cope and ways that you can incorporate into the world. It's just everybody got put on Ritalin or they got put in a special classroom, and there really wasn't a whole lot of support. Or, at work, you're just like, oh, you're a lot to deal with. So when I was growing up, which I get it,
My employees tell me that. They're like, you're a lot to deal with.
Yeah, it's okay, but that's where, for the neurotypical brain, they work at a different pace than we do. So those of us that are neurospicy, our brains are going nonstop all the time. So what would be like a massive amount and overwhelming for a neurotypical person, that's kind of normal for us. We're just going nonstop, and we learn how to mask it so that we can adjust to suit their needs and their comfort, which there's a balance in that.
Yeah. Is it like OCD or ADHD, or is it a little bit different?
So those are in the neurodivergence spectrum.
Mm-hmm. In the spicy version area?
The spicy, yeah. I like neurospicy better. Yeah, we're a little spicy.
Yeah, neurospicy.
But yeah, neurodivergence is a blanket term to include anyone that is not neurotypical. So if their brain just naturally functions on a different plane, not like I'm really stressed out, so I've gotten depressed or I'm anxious. I'm talking about it's a chronic condition for them. If their brains are just naturally hardwired different, then they're in the neurodivergent category. But yes, ADHD, anxiety, depression, those all fall on the spectrum.
Those are my favorite. I love those. But they call like the CO disease ADHD, OCD. So it's not that bad. I've been running companies since I was 18, and I might be insane with what you talk about, the overthinking and things like that. But it sure is helpful to start a business.
Yeah, and here's the thing, people will give you labels like, say, oh, you're overthinking, or man, you're crazy, you're too much, all of these things. And you can keep those narratives if you want, but they're very disempowering, because really most of our biggest innovators and creators and leaders and thought provokers and waymakers and changers, they're all neurodivergent. And that's one of the benefits, is we think out of the box. We're not comfortable in the stream, in the rat race. We can't do that. It doesn't work for us. People that do that, they're neurodivergent. They're the ones that go into severe depression, or they really just bottom out. But those of us that say, you know what, I want more and I'm going to do more, we do. And we do amazing things. So let people think we're too much. It's fine. They can go find less.
That's what the Zoloft is for, to regulate. I've been on Zoloft twice. But tell us about how, I don't know if I interrupted your journey. You were telling us your story, and I might have interrupted about halfway through it.
Okay. You had questions.
So you did you discover these modalities, and when did you discover them, and when did you find that they were healing for you, and then of course you moved on to helping other people?
Yeah, so that's relevant. It's actually a good transition because you stopped me with some of the language I use and allowed us to explain to people what it means. So it was perfect. But I didn't have support tools, and for me, my body reacts so strongly to medication that the side effects of the medication are usually worse than whatever the medication is supposed to be treating.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it didn't even make sense of like, okay, well, I'm on antidepressants and I'm on ADD meds, but now I'm dealing with beyond depression. Now I've got suicidal thoughts. Now I've got
Oh, no.
insomnia, which I already have anyways, but it's debilitating insomnia. Now I'm having massive mood swings, and those were way worse than my mind is racing and, I'm a little bit depressed. So
Mhm.
I had to find other options, and it took me years of studying and exploration to figure out a lot of the holistic methods that are predominantly lifestyle changes,
Mhm.
diet, that's huge for us with neurodivergence, and mindset.
Mhm.
Like those three things, those are the key categories that if we can make small shifts to create a more sustainable ecosystem for us and how we're functioning to support us,
Mhm.
it changes the way we do everything.
Yeah, it's what you put in your mouth. It's what you eat. I'm sure there's other aspects too, but I lost 100 pounds years ago, and it was all about what I was eating, what I was putting in my mouth, how I was taking care of my body. I back then I was drinking vodka and Mountain Dew a lot, and now I drink coffee and tea, and there's green tea, black tea. There's all sorts of millions of teas, and they're like really good for you. And now I
Mhm.
feel, my body at 57 feels so much better. um, Geez, I can't imagine living the life that I used to live, where I used to eat fast food all the time and all that crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just awful stuff. So, with the Reiki, how does that work? So, say I'm out in the audience and I'm not familiar with that modality. Give me a foundation on how that works.
Sure. I've worked hard to figure out ways to explain that to lay folks. It is a little complex. So a lot of people are familiar with chakras and yoga. So that's
Hmm.
usually my starting point. You hear the yogis that are talking about our chakra energy and we're going to work on our sacral energy and all of these things. And it sounds great and pretty, but how that lines up is the way that a lot of Eastern traditions describe some of our nervous system reactions is through energy. And there is some truth in that. Like if you were to use sound therapy or vibration, we can actually change the way that our cellular chemistry responds to illness, to injury through vibration. And the
Hmm.
same thing is true with energy. Like we are essentially tuning forks on the earth. Everyone
Hmm.
has different vibrations that we operate at.
Hmm.
And when it comes to our energetic field, that's related to both our internal systems and how our central nervous system connects to different parts of our body, as well as that vibrational frequency that we naturally operate at. So if
Hmm.
you look at someone who is very anxious and they're going nonstop, if you were to actually hook them up to electrodes, they would be at a very high frequency. They're going to be firing rapidly. They're going quickly, they're moving quickly, they're thinking quickly. Somebody that's more depressed, it's going to be different. It's going to be depressive. They're going to be moving a little bit slower. They're not going to be firing off as much in maybe the creative centers of their brain or in the executive function and the decision making side. It's going to be more depressed.
Hmm.
And when I do Reiki, what I do is I'm able to move that energy in a different way.
Oh.
And so you have your physical modalities. I've started doing something called somatic Reiki, which is
Hmm.
where we incorporate movement, tapping, pressure points, and the
Oh.
physical aspect into it. But the Reiki side is pure energy work. So,
Hmm.
folks that are Christians, they can look at the Bible and the different ways that Jesus and some of the other ministers and healers did healing work where they laid hands and they just
Hmm.
used divinity to do healing. It's similar to that in that it's just an energetic movement. So you're
Oh.
taking source energy that everything's made out of. We're made out of the same stuff as the universe, the stars, and the planets, which is beautiful.
Hmm.
We're also made out of the same stuff that potatoes and rocks are made out of. So perspective, right?
I know some people that are total rocks and total
Yeah,
potatoes,
me too.
and that's about it. So.
Me too. But for the Reiki energy work, what that is we're attuned differently. So there's hours of training that go into this, and
Hmm.
it is wild. It is a wild experience to go through. But we're able to channel that energy, and most of us do it through our hands. That's where
Hmm.
it flows through, and I can feel it when my energy's flowing. If someone's around me that needs Reiki healing, and my energy activates, I can
Hmm.
feel a tingling and a burning in my palms. So
Oh, wow.
sometimes I'm just walking around doing Reiki energy on people. It's not always a paid thing, but of course I spent time and money and energy on it. So there's always some sort of exchange.
Yeah.
But I hope that explained it a little bit. It's still
Yeah.
complex.
That burning might be, for someone like me, you're handling the satanic emissions of my hell burning for selling my soul.
Oh, no.
According to some people in religion, I guess on Facebook, I fit that mold. I don't know.
Oh, well, you get to decide your narrative. So
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, so it's you get the if I'm an atheist, so they don't like me much. Um,
gotcha.
yeah, that'll do it. So yeah, I think I might have. I'm not sure. I've had massage. I found was a real healer for me back in the
Mhm.
day, and I still love it to this day. And I know that there was some massages that I was given that were just like it was touch. It wasn't like rubbing your muscle. It was like touch and kind of energy thing. Was that one of those modalities that you do?
Yes, a large percentage of massage therapists are also Reiki practitioners.
Oh wow, okay, there you
But
go.
yeah, there's something called Reiki Touch that's similar
Mhm,
to acupressure, and so it will activate those same meridians that are aligned
mhm.
with our chakras because we have the 7 primary chakras most people are familiar with, but we actually have hundreds of them that are minor outlying chakras, and then there's a belief that there's 24 chakras that connect us to our divine source energy, whatever your term for it is, and that connect us all the way down into the earth and our grounding energy as well. So it kind of depends on which facet you follow. I live in the Bible Belt, so I do use a lot of Christian analogies. It's kind of like
Mhm.
here you have Roman Catholicism where it all started and it delineated out and said, well, I believe this. So now we're Baptists and we created our own thing. And, it's all just different language for the same stuff. Like, I don't look at someone who's atheist or agnostic as anything different,
Yeah,
but
we're still
most
spiritual.
Christians, exactly. It's all, it's
Yeah,
all, it's all relevant to your path,
yeah.
and whether somebody calls it God or energy or the universe, like it's all the same stuff, but we use different languages to describe what we're doing. So like if somebody talked to a burning bush and that wasn't satanic, then why would a shaman speaking to a disembodied being be satanic? It doesn't really make
There you
sense to do that. And that's a whole nother discussion when we talk about control
go.
and power. That's not religious or not spiritual, it's religion, but we
I've
won't go
talked
down that rabbit hole.
I've talked to some bushes, but that's when I was on vodka, or maybe I should say edibles. It's probably more appropriate.
Yeah,
You go talk to bushes on edibles.
that's a different
You're like,
discussion too.
how's it going, Mister Bush? You're kind of a shrubbery there, eh? What's going on? Am I high? Or are you talking to me right now? So there you go.
Yes.
So you also have spiritual support services you offer dream interpretation,
Mhm.
in-depth reading and energy work, gold divination. You've got some subscription services as well. Tell us about those.
Yes. So my spiritual support services, like I said, I'm all souls. I've worked with pagans. I've worked with atheists. I've worked with agnostics. I've worked with Christians. I've worked with Appalachian Christian witches. They're my favorite. They're really
How about
fun.
Mormons? You done Mormons yet?
Not worked with them directly through my practice, but I've had some real interesting discussions with them.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
I'm in Utah right now. That's why I asked.
Oh, are you? Okay. I went to school out in Utah for a little while out in Yosemite.
I'm sorry. I'm
You're
sorry.
good.
It
we
gets
have
better.
we have a small community of Mormons here where I
Do you?
live, but
Do you?
yeah, not
Oh,
many.
there you go. So dream interpretation, and I mean, what do you find? Like a lot of the clients that are coming to you nowadays, what are they suffering from? What do they need help with? What do you find is driving people crazy and insane nowadays? If it's not politics and the news.
Well, that's all surface level stuff. When you
Yeah.
talk about politics and work and all these things,
Yeah.
that's like going to the doctor and them treating the symptom, but not actually finding the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
I find that most people are dealing with now, it's has to do with power and self-actualization and
Mm,
trauma. And those
trauma.
two things, that's usually the root of anything that they're going through. And when it comes to our dreams and when it comes to card readings and things like that, what I tell my clients is I'm a phone, right? So when you place a call, it's not that the phone is doing the work. You've placed a call and then the phone is the tool for you to place that call to someone else, and then they answer and you get the messages. So that's essentially what I do, but I also combine psychology and spirituality because I am a medium. So I'll pick up on different energies or nuances. Sometimes I see things, sometimes I hear things, sometimes I smell things. And when it's appropriate, I share it with people. When they pay me to do it, obviously they want that, and I share it with them. Like I did a card reading today where my client sent me a message and she said, "This is scarily spot on. I'm crying right now. I can't believe that this was so accurate." It's like, you're welcome. Like that's what I do.
That's what she does.
But it all ties back every single time into trauma. And that's why I like to do the coaching work and the holistic health, because the holistic health, that's dealing with the body, the mind, and the spirit all together. So we're going to create an ecosystem that's best for you to thrive and grow. And whatever your external or internal traumas are that have created unhealthy thought patterns, that have created physical ailments that are an issue, that have created mental health issues that are leading you to self-sabotage, to substance abuse, to whatever your thing is, what we're going to do is, we're going to work on those habits, but we're going to go find where that started. Where in your childhood did you get this message that XYZ? Or what happened to you that shifted your mentality so much that you have now created a cycle of comfort that's destroying you in some way, keeping you in these cycles of anxiety or fear or depression, or keeping you from succeeding. And we're gonna rewrite those narratives. And a new practice that I've been doing is reprogramming with my clients. So our brains are like computers, right? And we're the programmers. So we can input the program. And our brain's job is to take whatever we tell it, that command prompt, and to give us proof that that command prompt is true. It's like, oh, okay, so you've told me that I am not good at making money and I'm scared of going out in public. All right, let's find all the proof and let's make that a reality. But if we change that narrative and we change that programming and we say, okay, you want to start easy. I'm learning how to be better with money, and I'm getting more comfortable with being out around other people and being in public. And you start there, and then you keep rewriting the narrative and you keep creating new patterns to break those cycles. And while you're doing that, you go back and find what created this anyways. Why do I have so much anxiety around this? Why do I have fear around this? Why am I afraid of making money? Or why do I think I'm not good with money? And we change those thought patterns. You change the way you think, you change the way you perceive, you change your whole life.
There you go. You know, it's interesting to me because we've talked a lot about trauma on the show. We probably had a few hundred psychologists on the show. It's interesting how what's that one book called The Body Knows the Score?
The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah, and it's interesting how we kind of hold trauma in different parts of our body, and I think that's probably what's good with your services. You help identify those and flush them out.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of the Reiki that I love, because one of the coolest things that happens is when I have no conversation with a client about what's going on, other than just, like, well, these are what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking. And sometimes it's detailed, usually it's not. And I'll go through and do a Reiki session. And then when I let them know, for example, I had a client yesterday where when I got to their solar plexus and I got down to their root chakra, the images that I saw and the messages that I got when I delivered to them, it was imagery of a tree growing. And then there were specific spirals and different shapes that were coming up as I was working the energy. And when I told them that, they read me a poem that they read back in middle school that made them start bawling and crying, that had to do with their self-worth. And they were dealing with a lot of digestion issues. And they were dealing with pain in their hips. I didn't know any of this. I was just doing the healing and it came up. So that's one of the coolest things about the energy work is people can tell you whatever they want, but your energy and your spiritual self, it's not going to lie. It's going to look out for your best interest. So it's a neat interaction to be able to do. It's weird too. Honestly, it's really weird.
But I mean, we've talked about this enough and studied enough and had enough people on the show. It's really true. It's really amazing how, it can fester in different places in the body, and it can cause, so many different problems. You see people that, I believe it can cause cancer. It can cause disease, all sorts of stuff.
Well, stress, they call it silent killer for a reason.
Yeah.
Because something you got to think about is when we get ill or when we get injured, what's our body's first response?
Fight or flight, or
well, that's more of a psychological response. So our body's physical response is inflammation. So if we get an injury or if we get ill, inflammatory proteins are released, so that way it can protect the site of injury, or it can get antibodies flowing in the system. When you go through anxiety or high stress, then there are some good stressors, but when you're in a constant state of stress, it also causes inflammation, because when you have mental ailments, your body treats it as a physical ailment as well. So it's treating that as an injury.
Mm. And so that's probably what caused that storage in the body and keeping it in some sort of cellular level, maybe.
Exactly. And, if we want to get into cellular health as well, obviously there's the things that we eat, the things we do, the way that we manage our bodies, but there's also some really cool pseudoscience going on about the generational traumas and how we hold on to that on a cellular level as well. So we have things that are passed down through genetics. So you could have 6 generations back and somebody that was in a famine situation, and it's completely changed the metabolism of their entire lineage. And it's wild to look at that. So you can look at just what you're going through, and if you've dealt with everything that you're doing, your mental's good, your spiritual's good, your physical's good, but you're still having issues, all right, well, it might be time to start looking into some ancestral healing and doing a little bit of lineage work. And that's when you get into the fun pseudoscience, but it's powerful work. And then a lot of people, they believe in past lives as well. So I've been doing a lot of past life regression in the last year. I've had a half dozen people come to me and say, hey, I want to get into past life regression. I'm like, all right, let's go.
There you go. Can we get future life progression? Can somebody develop that talent? Maybe AI or something? Like you know how like you can skip levels on video games or something like that, right? You could just be like, hey, can I just skip this life to the next one? Assuming there's one, all that stuff.
I was watching a reel recently where somebody was asking about AI and spirituality, and I don't remember if it was ChatGPT or what, but whatever AI it was, went into this long answer about how technology and spirituality have always been the same and they've never been separate. So you might be onto something there. And I don't know if you've seen people asking different, like, very deep questions of AI, and the answers they're giving are very profound. So that might be a fun thing for people to play with. See what happens.
Yeah. I mean, there's sometimes in life where you're like, can I just skip this?
Right. Well, even if you look at it from the AI standpoint, it's got all the research, so you can look into Taoism and Buddhist, because their ideology has to do with reincarnation. Say, okay, well, based off of the data that we have and the belief systems we have, how can I change my future path to incorporate whatever you want?
Yeah. I just want to come back as a billionaire. No, I'm just kidding.
That's fair. I want to come back as some like super cuddly animal that the only thing they do is lay around and cuddle, and end of the world comes, they're like, we're gonna die anyways, let's snuggle.
Yeah, let's just snuggle. I've always loved wolves. I've always felt that if I did have a prior life, it was as a wolf, because I connect with the wolves like really. Like I connect with them, something else. So you help people fix their diets, fix their energy, and I imagine you work with people all over the world. People can do this dialing into you, or do they have to come to you and be in person?
So I do both, and where I live, the demand is not high enough for me to justify the overhead expenses of a brick and mortar. So I typically do house calls, or we just have meeting places that we go, or I rent out other offices, but 90% of my work is virtual. I've worked with people in Asia, the UK, Canada, Mexico, all over the US, from California to New York, Florida, here in North Carolina. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. But go.
And sorry, did you have something you wanted to say there?
Oh, I just said anyone, anywhere.
There you go. Now, I think we mentioned in the bio, and that you help business owners and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs go through a lot of stress. They go through a lot of isolation, depression. I think I'm listing all my conditions. OCD, ADHD, what are some ways that you help businesses? Do you maybe go in and do like teamwork where you get everybody on the whole energy thing and work with people in a group?
I have not had the honor of having a business hire me yet, but yes, I have a lot of different structures that I would like to implement and play with and beta test in businesses, because I worked in food service for a long time. I have a bachelor's in culinary arts and food service management. So my prior career was as a chef. Never in a million years thought I'd be in this. And I've done a lot of working with teams and just seeing how that structure works when whether you've got a corporation or a small mom and pop. And I've noticed that there are a lot of commonalities, and they're similar to one-on-one coaching. So when you're working with teams, you have this whole formation stage that goes through where there's going to be some tumult. You've got the forming stage and the norming stage and the storming stage and all these different areas that we go through until we get to, okay, now we're in functionality where we're able to flow together. But the components that really help those shift is there's the neuroscience behind it of just communication and how we perceive things. Because especially if you're working in like a corporate environment, you have people that are in upper management. They have different responsibilities, different lifestyles, different ways of doing things and viewing things. And then you have the workers, the ones in the trenches that are doing different tasks, and they may be a little bit blind to what's happening up here or over here because they're just focused on what they're doing. And then you have your, all your demographics that you're working with for their background and their personal experience for what they're bringing in. And if you don't have a work culture that includes some sort of connection and communication where you're able to break through those barriers, you're going to have disruptions in the system. You're going to have bottlenecks. You're going to have areas where you're just completely disjointed. And it could be the most well operated machine, and you have all these SOPs, you got everything in place to where like, well, this is how we do the things. But if your standard operating procedure comes from upper management, they don't understand how the base flow goes with the working class, then, well, that's useless. You may actually be creating more problems than fixing it. And that's where, like you have those things that sound super corny, like, well, let's do team building and let's do trust building exercises and let's do all these parties. And if they're done not with the intention of just for show or spending money in that budget, but if they're done with the intention of truly building a community and a network of people that are working for the greater good and the mission of your company, that's another thing. You need to have core values and a mission for your company, because if everyone's working towards that as a team, it's completely different than I'm just going in and I'm earning a paycheck. I'm just editing these shows for Chris. It's like, no, we have a broader message. We have a purpose, and it changes that dynamic.
There you go. And I imagine, trauma, unresolved trauma is like so huge everywhere.
It
And
is.
like I have big singles and dating groups, and it's just amazing how people just go from one relationship to another, and haven't healed their trauma. And I could see in business, like a lot of times as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, I would have to fix, especially my salespeople's heads, because salespeople are great if they're great salespeople if you've hired them right, but if they get stuff in their head that psychologically mucks them up, they're having a problem at home, they have
Yep.
unresolved traumas, they have an addiction issue. I've had those kind of sales guys that they have a cocaine problem or an alcohol problem. And so, sometimes all you can do is fire those people. I mean, that's what I used to do in the old days. But now I can see there's a benefit to sitting down with your staff and going, who here has trauma? And maybe we should bring in somebody to fix it and take a look at it,
Yeah.
so that, we can just make the organization healthier.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's benefit to slow to hire, quick to fire, but
Yeah.
also when you have a team of people that are looking out for each other, that's completely different. When you go through experiences of growth together and you go through turmoil together and you grow and bond on that level, it is completely different. So, I would say yes to have some sort of solution of, hey, is this something you want to work on, and how can we help you, and create a team environment to help. But you also need to have boundaries around it. If they're not willing to do the work to heal, if it's creating a disruptive environment to the point of it being dangerous or negatively impacting everyone in the company, and you can't, isolate that and create a support system around it, then yes, you're going to have to do something different. But absolutely, I would say that's a brilliant route to go, because now you're going to have a much more loyal team, someone who has gone through a healing journey. Because a lot of people that are in addiction and trauma, they've gone through these cycles of trying to get help and not being able to receive it, either through their own means or just not getting the help and support they need. And so a lot of people, when they get someone who genuinely cares about them, and it's not in their best interest, it's just, I want you to improve and do better, and it benefits all of us, it changes the way that they see you. And there's a different amount of gratitude and just loyalty. I've seen it so many times where, like say someone's a felon and they can't get a job anywhere, and they have that one place that gives them a chance, and they end up being the best manager that they've ever worked with. It's like, man, I'm eternally grateful to you. I thought my life was over because nobody will hire me. You gave me the chance to show you I can do something different. But it's up to that person to make the change. So there's a
Yeah.
balance.
You got to do the work, right?
Yep. Always, always.
Always do the work. But on the other side of it, man, when you get your trauma healed, it's really nice.
Yeah.
And it's actually great in identifying trauma in other people, because then you can be like, oh, I see what's going on there. And you kind of have a better understanding of it. And also, if you're like dating, you can be like, yeah, that's not coming in my life anymore. I lived with that for 50 years.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I did that myself. I don't know
Yep.
more of that.
Been there, done that, rode the
Yeah,
roller coaster,
there
bought the
you go.
t-shirt, burned the
Take
hell
that.
out of it. I'm done.
Now, I see on your website you've got an events tab. I think it's hidden behind a password and login for clients and stuff. It says you host some healing circles and different things like that, some collectives. Talk to us
Yes.
about some of the things you do there.
Yeah, so over the fall and early winter, I was doing monthly events with other local businesses. There's a nonprofit called Dreaming Stone Arts and Ecology Center,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a ton of amazing work for outreach and overall ecology and education, and they do a lot of healing work. I worked with Satori Spa, and that's shifting, but Naima and Noble are two of the founders there, and they are both shamans, healers. There's two massage therapists there, and they're working on getting priestess training as well. So when it comes to mediumship, they do amazing work. Also sound healers. And then Flutter to Fly coaching, that's Cassandra Houghton, and she does a ton of stuff as well. She does Thai massage, she does a little bit of Reiki, she does yoga, and she does coaching, but she's primarily focused on business owners and helping them become more successful in their business. So we did some healing workshops, a lot of guided meditations, a lot of sound healing, a few brunches, and did a lot of guiding people through their trauma journey. So helping them navigate identifying what their inner traumas are and what their pain points are, and then guiding them through practices, physical practices, mental practices, spiritual practices that can help them break those trauma cycles and break
Oh.
those thought patterns. So that way it's a group experience where we get together, we do sound healing or ecstatic dance or
Hmm.
journaling and do these different ceremonies, and then we do a guided meditation that includes Reiki and sound healing, and then we sit around and we discuss what came up. And it was an amazing experience, and we're looking to do some events and retreats throughout the year. I've also got another person I'm working with, Raina Carroll. She's a shaman out in Tryon, and
Mm-hmm.
she's got a health and wellness store there. I've started selling teas with her, and I'll
Oh,
be doing
wow.
an Equinox event in March. So definitely check out my page because I'm going to get some promotional material up for
Yeah.
that here soon. And that's another collective of healers and shamans that are going to be doing um, shamanic breath work is
Mm-hmm.
one. And then we're going to be doing Reiki. I'm going to be doing my guided meditation for the neuroscience. I'm going to do a whole presentation on how we combine the physical, mental, and spiritual together and how they interconnect. And then our shaman is going to do a final transition phase to help people fully move through their evolution. So it's going to be a very powerful day.
There you go. I love it. And so people can find out more by contacting you on the website, probably following up on a newsletter, I think. Whatever you have that you let people know what's going on.
Yeah, so if you go to my website and scroll all the way down to the bottom, if the pop-up doesn't pop up for you, you should get a pop-up that says subscribe to our newsletter and get, I think it's 15% off tea. Or you can
Mm-hmm.
scroll all the way down to the bottom. If you've denied it enough, it just won't come up. And you can just put your email in and subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll definitely get updates on events there. You can also keep an eye on social media because I make sure to post events there. And then when I'm organizing the event, it'll go up on the webpage as well.
There you go. I like how you make custom teas for people. You might be the first person we've had on the show who makes custom teas for their coaching clients and stuff.
Yeah, it's
We've had
unique.
lots of tea makers, but never anybody who custom makes blends.
Well, that's where my journey started with this business. Actually, I
Mm-hmm.
was I was married before, and I started that with my ex-husband because we had a homestead farm and we were growing lots of things, but we weren't selling enough. And I was already making teas with the herbs and spices that we grew, and I was a new mom, so I was doing a lot for postpartum depression and lactation and
Mm-hmm.
maternity support and whatever different moms needed, anxiety. And I had enough moms that said, man, if you sold this, I would pay good money for it. But I said, okay, well, let's play with it. And that's where I started. But I discovered the coaching and the consultation along the way because I was spending hours. I've probably done $100,000 worth of free coaching and consultation before I
Yeah.
started charging for it. But that's a lot of what I was doing is okay, well, let me get you a tea that'll support your nervous system, or will support your lactation, will support your mental health, support your
Mm-hmm.
spiritual journey, whatever. But let's figure out what's causing it, because no amount of tea is going to fix whatever your root cause is. And eventually I wisened. I was like, oh, wait, maybe I should do the coaching and consultation, and
Too
this will
cool.
become a complimentary thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've had people get off medications and use my
Wow.
tea to replace them. And yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Oh yeah, chamomile tea, spearmint. I've got some peppermint tea. I think some I've got, and so you've got some allergy relief breakfast blends, cheer up blend, cold and flu season, custom teas. So people can come to you and be like, "Hey, these are my ailments," and you'll be like, "Here's some tea that you can use." Then of course the work of doing the consultations and all that good stuff. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. If they go to the custom teas, there's a
Mm-hmm.
flavor profile section.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to just, I think it's $25 for a base level one, or if you have multiple ailments, then it costs a little bit more. If you're on medications and things like that, because it requires either more research or me outsourcing to practitioners that I partner with. But if you want to do hands off, you can just submit a form to me, and I'll give you all the information you need with a whole list of recommendations. Or you can schedule a consult with me. We'll go through and have a conversation, and then we'll figure out, well, what's my best good or service to work with you. So I have the introvert version for people that don't want to people, and I have the extrovert version for people that want to have a discussion.
Oh, okay. There you go. And I imagine, your teas are locally sourced or wherever you're collecting them from. A lot of the stuff that comes in these commercial bags and stuff, it's like, seems like it's dead when you get it out of the box.
Yeah, so a big thing that makes what I do unique is, yes, the quality. I do as much local as possible, and then I use co-ops, and 95% of what I use is organic. If it's not organic, it's grown using organic, natural, and sustainable methods,
Mm-hmm.
just without all of the regulatory hoops to jump through. And I use the cooperatives because they support small farms, and that's where I started, was on a small homestead farm, and
Oh,
we
there you
don't produce quite enough to make a ton of money because we're staying away from mechanized farming, and we're doing as much by hand as possible,
go.
and
Mm-hmm.
that allows me to still support those small farmers. But I also blend everything to order, so
Wow.
I don't have stuff sitting out and just I'm scooping it in a bag and going. This is all custom blended, made to order, fresh. So it's the equivalent of what you would get at a coffee house. But what you buy in stores, they usually are processed by machines and put
Mm-hmm.
into bags, and then they're put into the bags and packaged, and they're put into the boxes, and then they're shipped, and then they sit in storage, and then they go on the shelves. So when they go through all these processes, then you're losing the essential oils, which is going
Oh,
to
yeah.
lose the volatility of the herb and the impacts and the flavor. That's why you have these big giant tea bags, whereas a tablespoon of product with mine, you can use a teaspoon, and it's going to be about 4 times stronger because it's more
Mm-hmm.
potent. It hasn't gone through all of those processes that degrade the materials.
Yeah. I've discerned the difference between buying. It can sit on the shelf for like years, really. Some of
Hmm.
these commercialized teas, and I've tasted the difference between that sort of tea and then just tea that's freshly made. And when it's got that richness, like you say, of the flowers and all the stuff that's in the tea.
Yeah.
I recently got into what is it? Is the green Japanese ceremonial tea matcha?
Matcha?
Matcha. Yeah, yeah. I even got the matcha whisk recently. So
Ooh, how do you like
yeah.
it?
I mean, I'm still kind of learning. It's kind of cool though. You just sit there and you feel very Japanese.
You feel very Japanese.
Doing Japanese. Isn't there a song about that? Feeling Japanese.
I think I'm
Anyway,
turning Japanese. I
yeah,
think I'm
yeah.
turning
That's
Japanese.
the
I
one.
really think so.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah, I
it.
know a lot of random songs and random information. It's a skill.
It's part of being ADHD, I think, or OCD, or
Yeah, yeah,
ADD.
we
You
remember a
collect
lot of
things.
useless things, but
Yeah,
it's funny at least. So there's
yeah.
that.
There you go. So anything more we haven't talked about? The services you offer people, how you help them, et cetera, et cetera.
Um, yeah, actually, I wanted to. And sorry, I'm going to turn my camera back on in just a minute. I had a bit of a malfunction. Let's see if you can see me now. Good.
Okay.
All right. So I did want to talk a little bit about community,
Mhm.
because I'm finding that another big issue that people are having beyond the traumas is a lack of community and a lack of connectedness within their lives. And so I'm not talking about just like going out to the grocery store and seeing so and so from, high school or whatever. I'm talking about a real community where you can really dive deep and you can evolve through whatever you're going through because you have those trusted people that you can have those conversations with, that you can have emotional intimacy and really open up on a level that allows you to evolve and grow. And that's one big mission that I have, is to help bridge more gaps. Because especially where I live, the religious divide, like you said it, well, I'm an atheist, so you talked about all these demonizations that happen. That's so common. It's frustrating to me because I look at it's all just different languages to me. Everybody has different ways of expressing the same stuff, but we're not that different. And if we can move beyond those differences and recognize that our differences are what make us powerful and what make us a force to be reckoned with, if we can join together and uplift one another and support one another, it's going to create massive change in the world, and it's needed. And you have things like COVID that pulled us apart, but also forced us to come back together. And then here where I live, the hurricane that happened during the election, when everybody is so divided and arguing about the Democrats and the liberals and the conservatives and blah, 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 blah. And now there's a bunch of people that are homeless and have no food and have no power and are trapped in different places. So they had to come back together again. Yeah. So you're seeing this universal energy come through and forcing us to do it. And that's one thing that me and a lot of the practitioners I work with are very big on right now, is that change needs to happen. And if it doesn't, we're going to see more destruction happening internally and externally. So going to throw that out there.
I would wholesale agree with you. COVID really mucked up stuff. One of the problems I've been having in my dating groups is people don't want to come out and socialize. I've had people tell me that they have a fear of socializing now. Yep. I'm like, you're 40 and 50 years old. You used to do this before COVID. Now you have anxiety, but I think it's valid. It's people spent so much time. It seems like some people kind of lost the skills to be social.
Well, yes and no. I think what happened is it opened up a can of worms for a lot of people that they weren't even aware that they were holding on to, because you've taken a lot of people that had this illusion of control of all these things they thought they had control over and realized, oh shit, I don't have control over any of this. And that epiphany of I could die at any point in time, which, there are whole schools of thought that say you should meditate on death and dying because it's really important to let go of that and understand that the only thing we have control over is ourselves and how we respond or react to a situation. So we can choose to look at a situation and say, I have no control over this whatsoever. Accept it and understand it's there. Allow the fear, allow the emotion space, but don't let them rule you. Don't be reactive. Say, okay, well, what can I control? What can I do something about? And let the rest go. Because you can drive yourself crazy focusing on all the things you don't have control over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's some people that, memento mori is something I study a lot in Stoicism, and it talks about what you mentioned, embracing death. Marcus Aurelius says, death smiles at us. The only thing we can really do that's constructive, I guess, is smile back.
Yep.
I mean, it is what it is. It's, it's coming whether you want it or not. Community is a big thing. Do you guys, do you have a community that you run, and maybe a Facebook group or something like that?
I'm going to be getting a community up and running this year. So my plan was to just have my regular social media and have a community kind of incorporated into that. But our social media has become so convoluted with advertisements and all of the nonsense and adorable kitten videos, which are great too. But it's become so convoluted with all this stuff that people get distracted. So I am gonna create a community this year. And I'm launching some new programs as well, where I'm going to get into some of this reprogramming work. And that's going to involve doing the guided meditations with people, allowing them to experience the Reiki. And there's going to be some low-cost entryway so that people can come in and get a taste of it, see if they like it. And if they don't, no harm, no foul. Now they have tools. And I'm really going to be hitting my business in a different way. I've been doing this business as more of a hobby and just because I want to help people for a long time. But I had another coach come to me and say, hey, look, you do exceptionally powerful work and you're very good at what you do and you're very unique. Imagine how much of an impact you could make if you were making enough money to create entire systems and support other industries and other practitioners that are doing the type of work that you do and create an army of healers. And it was something clicked, like, oh, right. Let me make a shift. So that's my focus this year.
Oh, there you go. I like the idea of building a community. I mean, community really helps. And And I think in today's world, we're so isolated. There's so many people that are still doing remote work, so they're
Yeah.
isolated there. And the Zoom calls not the same. There's when we're kind of around people and stuff. I think there's energy that plays off of each other.
For sure.
And where we're so isolated, so many people are single now, and it seems like people really struggle to date and do things after COVID. I mean, like I say, I have people that tell me that they have social anxiety come out, and I'm like, well, you go to a 7-Eleven, don't you? Like, there's strangers there. And when you go to the gas station, you go to the store. How
Yeah,
is
but
it different?
if you're doing a dating group, you're talking about emotional intimacy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
That's the
rejection
piece. Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But it seems like a lot of people, they just, I don't know, they stay isolated for way too long, and they just need to get over it. They need to talk to you about solving their issues.
Let's go. I'm happy
There
to
you
help
go.
with that. I'm
There
very
you
good
go.
at the step-by-step process. Well, and also just a quick takeaway tip for folks that are in that boat is a lot of this, the social media, like these types of podcasts are great because you're learning different tools, but you need to utilize those. So if you go listen to this podcast and then you go isolate yourself and hang out on Facebook and Instagram and all these social sites where you can just escape from the discomfort, you're not going to grow out of it. So that's the biggest thing is our growth edges and our evolution happen through discomfort and change. So you need to put yourself in a little less comfortable situation of like, okay, let me do this uncomfortable thing. Let me not just create an escape route all the time.
Yeah. I think we had somebody on the podcast we talked about recently about about how much distraction we have and dopamine we get from social media, and I realized that I wasn't sitting with myself in the quiet anymore. I kind of started this thing where, like, if I had to go make coffee or espresso or make food or something, I'd take my phone with me from my desk, and then I'd be watching videos, and then when I went to the gym, I'd be listening to audiobooks and trying to be, kind of, it was a productive thing. But I started realizing that I was afraid to just kind of sit alone with myself and listen to my thoughts
Yep.
and just put the phone down and just like let things be quiet and kind of listen to what my brain was talking about too. Because a lot of us, we got that little active ego mind in the back that's
Yep.
running its own little program, and sometimes listening to that and being like, what the fuck are you up to back there, buddy?
What are you talking about?
What are you doing? What are you up
Well,
to? You're running I realize you're the puppet master, you're running the show, but what kind of show are we running here, buddy?
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and we've had so many generations, and it's still a bit of an issue that base their worth and their value and their success off of how productive they are. Because you talked about that. It's like, well, I was being very productive, but if we don't categorize our reflection and our sitting in quiet as a form of productivity, because if we're able to sit with ourselves and really see all of the different pain points and growth edges that we have and we need, those productivity moments are going to be amped up. We're going to be, 3 to 4 times more productive because we're dealing with the bullshit that's getting in the way. We're knocking the obstacles down.
There you go. Knock the obstacles down, eh? Spend some time listening to yourself, and we get so much into doom scrolling on social media.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And oh, the world's going to hell, and I mean, there's certain things you may want to stay up on and what's going on in the world, and make sure you're paying attention. You don't want to get your head lopped off. But but there's also a time where you need to, I think that's where meditation and services like yours are very important, where you can spend some time in the quiet and work on yourself instead of like, I can't change what's going to go on with politics or the news of the day, plane does this or whatever. There's certain things I'm they're just going to give you anxiety, and sometimes it's better just to, if you have your own anxieties and your own unresolved traumas, it's better to maybe work on those than trying to fix
Yeah,
everybody
and
else.
do something about it too, though, because like even if you talk about politics, like no, you don't need to doom scroll and stay in it so much that you're keeping anxiety up. Which some of that is genetic too, because we used to be hunters and gatherers, and we had all these cortisol spikes that happen for survival. And now that we don't have it, sometimes we seek it. And it's just, oh well, we need to do this thing, but we don't. But when it comes to things like politics or your community, you pick the things you can do something about. So instead of just letting it cause you anxiety, it's like, okay, well, what can I do for myself and what can I do for others? Because the fastest way to get out of your own head is to do something for someone else and shift the focus from yourself. So like, yes, sit in silence with yourself, but that's where community comes in, is you have to have some sort of connection outside of yourself as well. And one thing that I've found to be very powerful are those guided meditations. A lot of people say, I can't meditate, I can't make my brain still silent, blah, 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 blah. You're actually not supposed to sit in complete silence. That's not how that works. The way that you meditate properly, which there are people that can go to silence, but it takes them decades sometimes to learn how to do that, is you first have to observe and just be present with your thoughts, with your feelings. And that's the letting go of control. All these things are happening in my mind and around me, and I don't need to change them. I don't need to control them. They're just here. I'm going to observe them, and I'm going to see what happens. And then you start making shifts. But the first key in meditation is just to exist and just be. And that's why I like the guiding, because there's breath work. There's scanning your body and paying attention to what am I thinking and how am I feeling and where am I feeling it as I'm thinking this thing. Don't do anything about it. Just sit with it. Be there. And then we start working into, now we're going to do something about it. But it all starts up here. It's all mental.
There you go. The mental game. So give people a final pitch out on how they can onboard with you, how they can reach out, interact with you, et cetera, your .org, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. So LMHT, that's LMHTEA.org. You'll see a book a free consult on the header of every single page. So you can hop on a call with me. It's completely free. We'll just have a chat. We'll see if there's even a reason for me to give you a sales pitch, or you can head onto the website. And if there's any of my services that you're interested in, just go to that category. Go ahead and purchase the one that you're interested in, and I will get in touch with you. And you're going to work with me personally. I'm a solopreneur. So you're going to be working with me directly 99% of the time. And you can find me on social media as well, but I would suggest that you get on my calendar, because that's the fastest and most direct route.
There you go. Click and book a free consult today on our website. Thank you very much, Briana, for coming on the show. This has been really insightful.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Chris.
Thank you. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, and all those places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next